Yo, what's good, everyone? I'm Fiction, a top 50 P100 Ghoul player with over 100 hours on him, here to teach you the many techs that the Ghoul has. Surprisingly, with the 6-7 months that Ghoul has been out, not a lot of people know much about it. So I'm here to teach you about the different techs you can do as the Ghoul in this guide. Some have been removed, but others still remain in the game, and honestly should stay because a lot of them buff the skill expression to the character. Also in this video features some of the best Ghoul players explaining some of these techs, so shoutouts to them, they are all legends. You probably will know a lot of these techs, but some are not very surface level knowledge according to, well, a lot of people. So without further ado, let's get into this guide to Ghoul techs. Before I explain the first tech, I do want to give a huge shout out to everyone in this Discord server and some other cool people for helping everyone get a better understanding of how these techs work. Anyways, let's begin. Slingshots. This is the Ghoul tech at least everyone knows how to do because it's his easiest one to learn.
What up? My name is Twisted and I'm here to talk to you about slingshots. For the uninitiated, slingshotting on kaneki is the act of chaining two leaps together in quick succession to propel kaneki further than what a base kagane leap would give you. At a base level, you want to learn how to do this because it's really good for map trajectory. With more experience on how to actually do slingshotting efficiently, you'll be able to use it to catch up to survivors with ease. So here's how you do it. Make sure you're enraged and then aim your first leap in whatever direction you want to travel. And then on the second leap, you want to aim to the closest object that you can that will pull you forward in that direction appropriately. Using this method on hills and staircases on certain maps propels you so goddamn far. It takes some practice, but once you get it down, trust me, you're never gonna look back again.
The inputs are using your next consecutive kagane leap immediately after your previous kagane leap. And what happens is the game just sorta gives you a faster leap. Honestly, a lot of Ghoul's power can be summed up with this one image I posted on Twitter once. I want to quickly mention here that it is important to know that the entirety of Ghoul's power is server-sided, meaning all of his techs are server-sided in some way. So for slingshots as an example, slingshots won't work at a higher ping, and will actually be buffed at a lower ping. I can honestly go on a whole rant about why his power should be server-sided, but that honestly deserves its own video. This tech is useful for so many things, such as cutoffs, which I explained in a different video, catch-ups, and the most useful case, map traversal. A lot of Ghoul players' games, they don't know how to traverse the map efficiently. Key things to take away from good map traversal is you don't ever want to use your last leap for mobility, and you should be slingshotting as much as you can. And once you've mastered it, things start going off the rails. Literally, kaneki can fly. It's called Space Kaneki, and honestly, I am not the best person at explaining it. I would suggest checking out Al Renikin's video on Space Kaneki if you want a better understanding of how it works. While the way he performs it is outdated, most of why it works is still relevant. But anyways, how do you do it? The way you want to do it is you want to line it preferably off a ledge or hill and make it so your first leap is sliding you onto the hill, for example, and your second leap is some random placement off the hill. This will send you flying off the hill or ledge and allow you to gain some crazy distance. This is what I like to call situational space kaneki, the other one being manual space kaneki, which has been patched sort of, but trust me, it's gonna somehow find its way back in the game. The reason it works is because DBD doesn't have a speed cap in the air, or in the y-axis in general. Nothing in the y-axis really works in DBD, which is why stuff like this is possible. I would suggest utilizing this tech if there's a hill nearby to get map traversal. And I do also want to mention that not all hills work. I'm assuming it's because it follows the same logic as Skywesker, and if you know anything about that, you'll know that some ledges don't work, and yeah, that basically explains Space Kaneki. I mean, I personally just use it for map traversal, but you can occasionally hit the niche clip or two. Next up is prompt steals.
Hi, bnork again. Prompt stealing is a tech that kaneki can do, which is pretty much used like a Doctor Shock to prevent a pallet drop or vault action. This tech requires a bit of setup and intentional timing, but when done properly, it's incredibly satisfying and consistently lethal as well. perform a prompt steal, you need to utilize the interaction that happens when kaneki grapples onto an already marked survivor. Admittedly, this action can feel pretty pointless as you just pull yourself to that survivor and get a longer cooldown than a normal cancel, but what you should notice is that when you do this, you kind of lock the survivor in place for a second where they kind of can't do anything until you're done. What happens is they'll lose access to action prompts, and you kind of pull yourself to them in such a way that will body block the majority of the resource. It's preferable that you position yourself towards their shoulder as you prompt steal, and that way you typically get the most of the action prompt and give yourself the best chance at getting a proper prompt steal. This does require very specific timing. It can be pretty punishing when mistimed, but once you get the swing of things, it can be really useful, especially on dropped pallets, which is where I find the most success. Yeah, kind of a brief explanation, but I think you get the gist.
Prompt steals utilize a pretty niche part of Kaneki's power called the Kagane swipe. This part of his power is supposed to serve as a hindrance if you try to directly leap onto a survivor. But another niche part about this feature is, for some reason, if you Kagane swipe a survivor, that survivor's entire prompt to do basic survivor interactions is taken away from them. Hence the name, prompt steal. To perform this tech, right before a survivor vaults a pallet or window, Kagane swipe them, and you'll notice they won't be able to vault. That's because survivors for some reason are in one mode and they need to vault that pallet or window, and they won't know that you're hindered for 2.5 seconds, and can safely make it back around to the other side. This tech also has a variation for upright pallets, and it's super easy to do. Even XQC can do it himself. I think looking at the clips, this one should be pretty self-explanatory. Prompt steals are a super effective tech, probably his most effective tech for getting downs, but will stop working once survivors have a change of mindset. But we can all agree and know that's never gonna happen. If you are struggling to do these consistently, a big factor is survivors do have to be moving, so try to perform it while they are moving to the pallet. And it's also important to note that windows are basically a guarantee to work. But because survivors can lock themselves with the vault prompt, it can be a little harder in that case. Leapnels. Leapnels are when you can vault a window and you still keep your power. I showed this tech off on my first real compilation, and I had at least 2 people not knowing you could even do this. Anyways, how do you perform this? Well, there's different lineups you can do to perform this tech, and I would suggest you find the one most comfortable to you. The easiest one, I'll just tell you, is to aim at a wall and let the slide of your leap carry you to the window. You may have noticed the vault prompt while you were crossing the window. This is because for some reason at the end of every leap, there's a short time frame into which you can vault a window, and if you do this, you trick the game into thinking you're out of leap mode so you can still vault the window, but because you never left leap mode, you can still leap. I honestly can't explain this one. So if you press the vault prompt in the short time it's on the screen, you vault the window and are still able to leap, which also puts you in the bugged animation mode. This tech allows for pretty insane plays. It's pretty hard to get the hang of because it's a semi-frame perfect input, but once you get the hang of it, it's smooth sailing from there. Another note to this is that the leap timer does not reset, and since it takes time to vault, you might lose about 2 seconds of your normal leap time, so don't think you can just hold your power afterwards. And it's also important to note that you can use vault perks to have that. So if you really want to farm for this clip, this is the build for you, I guess. Velocity slides. Velocity slides are easily one of Ghoul's most skill-expressive techs because you'll mainly find yourself using them when performing cutoffs.
Velocity slide is done by doing 2 leaps in quick succession, using the momentum from your first leap to grab an object which will soon be obscured with your second leap, slingshotting yourself in a C-shaped arc around a tile or filler. This is particularly useful on Shack, making it unwinnable for someone who properly check spots, giving them little to no time to react to your movements. Although mainly used on Shack, it can be applied to other tiles or fillers with a bit of creativity. I personally find the best use cases outside of Shack being TNL walls, trash pallet gyms, and short or long wall jungle gyms.
The best way I can explain it generally is right before you pass a wall, you want to leap, and your leap will land behind the wall. And you'll actually be able to leap, like, right next to it, basically, and it'll carry you over the wall. The interesting part of velocity slides is you can perform them in different ways. There's the basic one that usually you do around Shack. And you have what I like to call the Insta-Velo slide. This is my favorite one. They give it like a Wesker Insta-Hug lineup, hence the name. It's so fun to find new spots for every tile I play around. For some reason, every time I fail to do a cutoff and pull this tech, it always works. While this tech is not that difficult to pull off, it is pretty weird to get the hang of, but once you've gotten it down, it really starts to open your eyes on spots that were not previously possible to cut off. And that basically wraps up this guide on Ghoul Techs. When I was writing the script for this video, I'm not even kidding you, Janoxy, my good friend, put this on Twitter.
Oh my god.
I hope y'all learn a thing or two, as a lot of these are going to be really important to learn when behavior nerfs Ghoul's brainless playstyle. Trust me, it's going to happen, I'm believing. All of these techs buff the cutoff playstyle, so if you're struggling to do simple leap logic, I would suggest you give some of these a shot. And if you're having a little more trouble, my Discord server has guides on some of these techs. And with all that being said, go follow me on Twitter, Twitch, join my Discord, and until next time. Like, it literally just stopped. It takes forever. Like, bro. And I still hit a cutoff on there, like... I just hit a fucking cutoff with my A key not working.